my class the other night. I jumped in on it, I've done it 100 times. And then all of a sudden, all the controls were different. And, and, here I am getting ready to start class. And it's like, wait a minute, where's my pointer? Wait a minute. How do I test my microphone? And, it's just different, but it just really disrupts you.
It sucks because I'll be teaching too, and there would be times where I have to link my computer to a projector in the classroom because we're in a classroom, but it won't link, and it says it doesn't exist. I'm like, I use it every class. I don't know how it doesn't exist. Like, where is it? So then I search again. No. Then if I restart the computer, it comes up and it looks different. I'm like, wait, there it is. Wait, what's going on? It doesn't make any sense to me.
I know.
Students, I'll get my students to help me. I'm like, hey, wait, come figure this out because I don't know what I'm doing.
Right. Yeah. I guess that's all part of it, is just have to be adaptive and everything. And just not let it get to it and just say, hey, all right, there's going to be a little bit of a learning curve by me tonight.
For everyone.
Right.
Patience. It's a good thing.
Exactly. Oh, there he is.
Hey.
Good
morning, Sam.
Good morning.
Good morning, Sam.
How are both of you doing?
Very well, thanks.
All right.
Yeah, we were just kind of talking a little bit about some of these recordings and stuff, and maybe trying to get them over into YouTube. And then we were talking about, looking forward, since this is going to be our last climbing meet, and looking at kayaking and rafting moving forward.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know. When I start thinking about that a little bit, it's kind of nice because I feel like, well, maybe spring really is here, because you just start thinking about the water and getting into it and a little bit warmer situations and stuff. And of course, the weather that we're having here over the weekend is kind of indicating that as well.
Yeah.
We had snow at my house 4 days ago.
Yeah, you were talking about that.
Yeah, right.
It's gone now, though, right?
It's gone, but it's like we did, and now it's like a beautiful sunny day. I don't get it.
Yeah.
And a week ago, is a whole different story. And then our crazy house. So we had 2 mallard ducks that decided to, hang out in our pool. And so they come swooping down and hung out in our pool. And we keep noticing them there. Well, come to find out, now they've got a nest out behind our pool, and they're starting to lay their clutch of eggs. And like, okay. So now I've got all these side projects that, I've got to wire off the fence to keep the dogs out of that area. And, it's like, oh my gosh, this is not really the way I planned my spring coming about. I've been YouTubing, and I'm researching the reproductive cycles of mallard ducks now. How long do I have to do this for?
Rabbit holes.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And like, so I could tell you all kinds of, and little did I know, and it's funny, they show up about the same time every day, hang out for like 3 or 4 hours. They don't care if I'm back there. I'm back there working and stuff, and they're sitting up on the deck, and I'm walking right by them. And I guess they lay an egg a day, and they can lay up to 8 to 13 eggs.
Wow.
And then a month later, then you start getting ducklings around, and they immediately are on the move. So they said because Laura talked to the Fish and Game Department, and it's actually a federal law. You can't disturb them. And so I got that going for me. And so they said, basically what you do, and he said, this is happening all over Fresno right now. Anybody that has a pool. And so they said the best thing you can do is, once you see them starting to hatch, is leave a side gate open so that they can get out, and they'll kind of wander away and eventually do their thing. And I'm like, okay, well, I can do that. So anyway, so that's what I've got. That's my next month. What's looking like. So, yeah. Well, hopefully we get some more people joining us. but we'll go ahead and get started. So basically, like I was saying, Sam, is this sort of our last climbing one?
Yes.
And this just kind of to pick up on the last few little things about climbing. And when we talk about climbing techniques, it's not really so much the climbing part of it. It's more like how to protect yourself, like the belaying process, and maybe how to use a gree. And we've already talked about setting up top rope anchors and things like that, but just some of the other stuff and rappelling. We hadn't really touched on that. And then the classifications, which you know, you hear about it, but you know, what does that really mean? And so I've got a couple of examples towards the end of the presentation that are just some videos of some different so some different routes and kind of difficulty or how easy they are. And you know, and it's really subject to, it's almost like the ratings on a sleeping bag. You know, 158 for one person is maybe I can't do it. And then, you know, that another person might just almost run up it. So it's, and the difference between a 5'8" and a 5'10" basically is the 5'10" is going to be harder. So typically, now how much harder, that's kind of up to you really. So it's kind of, there's some relativity to it, I guess.
Well, I mentioned this in the last one of the last videos. Is I said that Afton can climb things that I can't climb, and I can climb things that Afton can't climb. And if we both are on, I'll make this up, but on a 5'8", I might bomb on a 5'8". Like I might just do horrible, but she'll like walk right up, and I'm like, what the heck? And that 5'8" is so substantial. So there's a word. But it's hard to determine what a rating actually is because it's one person's rating of it.
Yeah, it is. And I think you're going to get it different regions and stuff like that. I've always heard Yosemite is hard stuff. It's a little bit harder than, and I found that out going to Washington too. You know, I'd go up and say, oh, it's only 5'7", and I'm like, what the? Oh, I don't know whose 5'7" this is, but anyway. All right. So anyway, that's kind of, let's see if I can get into this a little bit. So when we're talking about belaying, you know, I have a gree and I use it, but there's really not a good substitute for an ATC. I mean, just the versatility of it, able to rappel with it, all those, and it's just there's not a whole lot to go wrong with this as far as you know, mechanisms and stuff like that. It's a pretty simple device, very effective. It's evolved, you know. I think we were, Travis, I think we were talking about all the way from, you know, a stitch plate all the way down to a tuber, and you know, different types of devices that have come before this that sort of has evolved into this.
If you go back to that picture real quick, is that
Oops.
bottom carabiner on his, if you can't go back, is that bottom carabiner just on his hip, or is that actually, that's just on his hip? Okay. I thought somehow he had a carabiner. I'm confused by that.
Yeah. No, his other one looks like it's over on his hip belt there, on that gear belt. All right. This guy's going to talk a little bit about, just put a little bit of motion into what we were just talking about. If I can get it to go. There we go.
Now, since you clipped your belay device to your harness, you can start belaying. So me as a right-handed person, I will always have my right hand on the brake rope the entire time when I'm belaying. Okay, so this is a very important rule. So now as my climber ascends up the climb, I need to pull in every inch and every foot that he or she climbs, right? So in order to do so, we use a technique that's called plus. Okay, so we have a few letters here. So let's start with P. So P is pulling. So my left hand grabs the climber side of the rope, pulls it down as my right hand goes up, right? Now I'm going to lock it down. So L is lock, which means my brake hand, the brake rope goes down, right? And then I go, U is under and S is slide up. Okay, so I'm pull, lock, under, slide. Right? So my goal as a belayer is to keep always tension on the climber, right? So I have to be fairly quick with pulling and rope. And this is how to top rope belay. Thanks for watching and have fun out on the rocks.
Well, and there's the Travis we were talking about, and there's his credit. So,
Yeah, exactly. That's all.
well, that was pretty. Like I said, it's pretty quick. I mean, that was a quick little video, and I mean, there's a little bit more to it. Like if he was obviously belaying a lead climber, you know, he'd be feeding out, you know, the rope going up. And if you're, you know, the lead climber pulling in, then you would use that real, pretty much same sort of technique, but the rope would be coming down from below. So it's still use the use of the device, but and kind of see how that works, how the braking side of it works, and locking it in and everything. And obviously the most important thing is on that bottom rope is you have a hand on it all the time, never taking it off. You can have a, you know, you can have a slide motion going up it, but it's never coming out of your hands. You know, for the safety side of it. I don't know why I get froggy every morning when we do this. Excuse me. All right. Let's go ahead and keep moving on. I expect every time I kind of click back and see who's here, I'm kind of halfway expecting to see more faces. So it's always a surprise. And let's see what this guy's up to.
Hi, I'd like to show you how to belay from the top of a trad pitch using a direct belay, which means that we don't have to belay off of our harness like we used to do in the old days, and it was really uncomfortable when your partner fell and you'd be hanging there holding their weight. Okay, so the modern belay is direct off the anchor. I've got 3 solid pieces in a nice crack, so it's got to be a bomb-proof anchor, and we're going to do it with an ATC guide, also known as a plaquette. A reverso is just about the same thing. So here we go. Once I've led the pitch, I'm going to go ahead and take a locker into my master point and clove hitch in, loop, another loop, put the second one behind the first, flip into my locker, lock it down, give myself plenty of room here to lean back, okay, so that I've got plenty of room to do my arm motions. Then I'm going to stack the rope at my feet. I could take the backside of the clove hitch and bring it through the belay loop and clip it here just so it's out of the way. Or I could just let it dangle and then stack the rope at your feet if you can. Now, if you're making lap coils, then it's slow and it's hard to give a good belay when you're doing that. So we really don't want to make lap coils if there's any way we can stack the rope at our feet. Okay, even if you use your leg to help pin the rope in. Make a nice small stack, keep it compact, you can pat it down, and your partner should say, "That's me." So, what do? Well, we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna take the plaquette device, and we've got a locker clipped into that upper loop right there. So we're gonna clip into our master point with that locker, flip it around, and lock it down. We're gonna take our blocking carabiner, and that just stays there on the cable as normal. Now take your partner strand and put it on top in either slot, okay? So there's the climber strand on the top, and that should self-lock, okay? But if you have the climber strand on the bottom, like this, climber's on the bottom, then it's not gonna self-lock or braking assist or anything, it's just gonna run. So here's a climber, and there it's just going to go. So that is the first thing you want to make sure you get right, is have the climber strand on the top, either slot. clip the blocking carabiner, lock it down, and then give it a tug on the climber strand to verify that it is self-locking. Now, you must never let go with your brake hand, and it's no guarantee that it's going to lock. Okay, so your hand motion, you've got plenty of room here. It's going to be right hand high, left hand low, pull with both hands, slide the left hand down and match, right hand up and release. Pull, slide down, match, right hand up and release. Okay, and if you've got a nice high master point, you can really go. Now, as far as giving the person slack, that's where it gets tricky. We'll have to cover that in another video. The other thing you're going to want to have is a rope that's 9.5 or less. If you have a 10 millimeter, there's so much friction when you use these devices, it takes the fun out of it.
All right. Morning, Michael.
Hi, I won't be able to stay long, but thought I'd check in and see.
Oh, yeah, it's always great. We always appreciate and see your face there and help out. Some of these, like I've actually never used that technique. Usually when I've gone out climbing, I have 2 or 3 ways of belaying, and they've worked well. And I don't really, it's one of those things, if it's not broke, I don't try to fix it or get really creative. And, and I don't know, maybe I should be more adventurous with it. Maybe I should go up on more top rope situations or something, and safe situations, and explore with this a little bit more. It's just one of those things where opportunities and stuff. I don't know. Anybody have ever a chance to get set up like that or use that sort of process?
Never have. I'll check the recording later to check it out. I just saw the last 40 seconds.
Ah, gotcha.
I have definitely used that technique, but I'd used it in a learning component. I was trying to learn new techniques, and I was with an instructor who was trying to give me some information. He taught me that technique, but I've never actually used it besides in the learning component. So,
yeah, the ATC. I mean, I just think it's a really versatile tool, not only for obviously belaying, but rappelling, and I mean it's just got a lot of, and there's not much to go wrong with it unless you clip into the wrong section or you do something really obviously wrong. But so that's kind of when I think one of the advantages of that particular tool for sure.
He mentioned it, the Reverso, though, it's the same kind of placard or belay device as what he has right there. The Reverso is a good tool because it is, I don't know, are you talking about the auto locking component, or what aspect are you talking about?
I'm talking about just the actual design of it, because you got that Pro version that has sort of the catching teeth on one side,
yep,
versus just the straight ATC that, it doesn't really matter if there's an up or down to it. I have a Pro, and I haven't used it in like that capacity, but I like having that extra grip to it. But you do have to kind of pay attention which side it's coming in on, because it can stop you or not stop you, if you're kind of dependent on it and stuff. So that's the only thing I have to kind of watch out for on it.
I've used, so going back to my earlier statement and saying not true, I've used a Reverso a lot. And a Reverso is great literally because you are taking some quote unquote guesswork out of it, not that there's guesswork, but it just gives you a second set of security. It's nice. I've never, and you're going to show a video here in a minute, I'm sure, I've never liked the Gree just because there's just too many moving parts, and I try to minimize my moving parts. The more I put into a climbing system, I'm usually like, well, there's 2 more things to break, there's another thing to break, and I don't like to do that. But for me, the Reverso, or that one he has there, it's 2 carabiners, but they're very clear and concise, so you know exactly what they're doing. So I think there's less chance of screwing things up on that. I just don't like to add 1,000 pieces to anything.
Yeah, I have a Gree, and I've used it. It's just one of those things where I'm not completely comfortable with it. I just so. Yeah. I mean, I feel like sometimes I've got one and I'm using it just to convince myself that I can evolve, but I don't really need to. So, I mean, just like, okay, well, everybody's using one. It must be great. Well, I think in climbing gyms and things like that, maybe that's great. I mean, because you're doing the same thing over and over, top rope, and you're able to lower people real easy with it, nice and smoothly. Yeah, but I just out on the rock. I'm now Carson. I know, and Jennifer, they use them and but they use them a lot, so they've gotten really used to it, and they work really well together, and that's great. I mean, I just think that for me, I don't get the chance to climb and utilize it that much, and so to just stay up and on top of it, there is a different type of technique to it. So that's I think where the uncomfortable part of it comes from. But yeah, I see a thumbs down, Michael. So yeah,
They're heavy, complicated, big. Yeah, I've used them, but I don't like them.
yeah. And like I said, go ahead.
I'd rather spend the money on a couple of friends or something.
There you go. That's very true right there. It's very true. All right, let's keep on moving and let's just see. Grigri. Oh, here we go.
Hey, there it is.
I'll be right back.
Nice segue in there, right into there.
Hi, I'm Lauren with Stoneman Climbing Company, and today we're going to talk about how to lead belay with a Grigri. So first, I need my Grigri. It's made by Petzl. I want to make sure that I have a locking carabiner, and I first put that on my belay loop here on the front. As I pull the rope from the leader, I want to make sure I give him enough slack before he gets up to his first bolt. So I judge about how much he has to go before he gets to his first bolt. The climber side is on my left, brake strand is on the right. I'm going to take the Grigri off of the carabiner, open up the plate, put the climber side on the left and the brake side on the right, close the plate, and then lock it up. I want to double check that I have it loaded correctly by pulling the climber's side to make sure that it engages if he were to fall. I make sure he's on the correct side, and my brake strand goes out the bottom. Let's do our double checks to make sure that he's safe and that I'm safe. So his harness is double backed, tighten over the hips. His figure 8 follow through has 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 with the Yosemite finish. And he's gonna tuck that away to keep the tail out of his way whenever he's leading. You don't wanna get confused with which end you're gonna be grabbing. He's got his helmet on and all of his climbing gear. And he's gonna double check me that I've got my harness tight and over my hips, double backed. My carabiner is locked, and the climber is on the top, and my brake side is on the bottom. All right, you ready to climb?
Ready to climb on belay?
Belay's on.
Climbing.
Climb on. Before he gets to his first piece, he's technically not on belay. So I want to make sure that I give him plenty of slack so that I don't pull him off the wall before he clips his first piece of protection. I'm paying attention to where I see his first bolt before he's going to clip that. It looks like I'm going to have enough slack. So he's clipped. Now I want to take in some of that slack by pulling. It looks a little bit different with the Grigri. As I lead belay, it's very similar to an ATC. There's one essential difference. The way that I hold the Grigri is really important. My right hand never comes off of the brake strand. I'm going to put my index finger under the little lip and my thumb over the back of this lever. I make sure that the brake strand stays in my hand, and as he climbs, I'm going to give slack by pulling with my left to help disengage the brake only while I'm pulling slack. When I'm done giving him slack, I take my thumb off of there so that I don't accidentally disengage the brake if he were to fall. So as he climbs, I'm going to maintain 3 to 5 feet of slack, make sure that he has enough to take a step, to make a move, so that I don't pull him off the wall. As he goes up, I can watch just the rope, and I don't have to watch him if I can't see him or he's out of view. As he's clipping, I give him a little bit of extra slack. When he's below his bolt, I can take in that slack by punching the rope out, putting my hand underneath, sliding my right hand up, and then going back to my left hand on the slack side, the climber side. Maintain that slack, and then take your hand off of the brake when you're not using it. As he goes up, I just watch the slack. I watch where he's at in relation to his gear to make sure that I'm his double check. I'm his second set of eyes to make sure that he sees where he's going and if his protection looks good. Here at Stoneman, we try to be super redundant, hence Department of Redundancy Department. So it's always good to have your belayer double checking the leader. He's clipping in, and I can see he's well below his piece, so I'm gonna take in some of that slack as he continues to go up. And I can see he's creating a little bit of slack, and I pull that rope out, still maintaining control of the brake strand. Nice job, I gotcha. It is really important whenever you're lead belaying to monitor your rope. Make sure there aren't any knots in your rope. You always have to look at it ahead of time so that you maintain your slack and you're still paying attention to your climber. Taking tight, lowering. Whenever you lower, you pull the right hand or the brake side down to your side, and then you lift the lever with your left hand, and you pull it back until you slowly release, and you let the rope slide through your right hand. I'm controlling the speed at which he's coming down, so I go nice and slow. If he needs to stop for any reason, then I let go of the lever, I hold with my right hand, and he's stopped. And then I can pick it back up. As I start to feel him more, I can brace myself with my foot against the wall to make sure I don't slam into the wall. Nice job. Pull the slack. You're good to go.
I've got some comments.
Okay, yeah, that's it.
Well, first of all, I think she should know how to use that Griggy well enough to not have to watch him while she's lowering him.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Second thing, there's a website, I've mentioned it to you, Dave, How Not To.
Yeah.
Not a web, I think they do have a website, but a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And the Yosemite Finish, they've got some good thoughts on that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And the figure eight, back in my day, I never realized there's a couple of different ways that knot ends up being tied. Not how you tie it, but the side that, and check out their site because I'm going to get this wrong, but the side that the rope comes out of makes
Correct.
a significant difference.
Okay. Yeah.
Whether
Yeah,
it's on the inside of that 8 or on the outside of that 8. They're both, but check that out because I'm not going to go into details because I'll probably say the wrong details.
No, I definitely will. Thank you for that. For sure.
Yeah, I think a couple of things on the exact same point. First, Yosemite Finish is that they've kind of said it's like a horrible way to do it because it actually lessens the strength of the knot because it's actually putting more force on the knot. Shear force on the knot's what makes the knot weaker. But the second thing is that where the knot comes out of where the rope, the working end of the rope comes out of the knot will also affect it. Similar when you tie a bowline. When you tie a bowline wrong and where that knot comes out of a bowline also throws it off. Not that a lot of people use bowlines anymore. But yeah, I was just watching. We talked about the video we watched first was the under slide. She went over and grabbed. It just looked so convoluted. I was like, holy cow. So there's a couple of little hiccups in her video. Very informational, but definitely some flaws in her actions.
Yeah, and I think that I think it's good that I mean, not to pick on anybody, but because they're putting information out there, but I think it's good to grasp on to certain things and then be able to see other things that, well, not that I disagree, but I would probably do things a little bit differently. Like I've never had that much slack in my, especially a lead climber. I mean, she got what loop down there, and it's extra 5 feet
That's
of
a good
slack.
5 feet of fall.
Yeah, I'm like
10 feet
boy,
of fall.
if you know, if I was look down there and I see a big loop in there, and I'm trying to clip into something, it's like, hey, I appreciate,
confidence goes
you know,
down.
yeah.
My confidence goes down.
But those are kinds of things that I think that this group it's great to have people that have experienced these kinds of things and have some knowledge on them. And I mean, those are just little subtle adjustments. And I think we all kind of agree on the gree-grees. It's in the right use. Hey, great. But maybe if we're out there doing lead stuff, or we're actually doing some multi-pitch stuff, like you said, Michael, maybe having an extra friend or totem or something like that, an extra cam might serve you better.
And you're not picking on her, or we're not picking on her. We're critiquing. You know.
There you go. Yeah,
exactly.
absolutely. Yeah, and so we're just fine tuning, and I'm sure if somebody was watching our video, would go, well, yeah, I kind of agree with that, but I could also, you know, maybe doing this. And
Do that gallery, baby.
and
Do
I would,
that gallery.
and I think that having different opinions, I think everybody sort of gets, you know, stronger in product, I guess, and maybe because we're all trying to be safe, we're trying to find, and we're sharing. And you know, if I say something and you guys disagree with it, I'm not going to feel offended. I would, hey, I never looked at it that way. That's awesome. I just feel like and to be honest with you, I have yet to have one of these sessions where I didn't walk away knowing more. So, or feeling like, wow, I just picked up. I never thought about it that way. You know, thinking outside the box, that kind of thing. So I think it's really good.
One other comment. I saw on a video a whipper that was caused by somebody using her technique with the finger over the lever to quick, you know, and the belayer panicked and just kept it there.
Mm.
Yeah, because your instinct is to pull back. If you have your hand on the lever, you pull back. That's your jerk reaction. So I can see that happening.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah. There's a lot to do there, and a lot to keep track of. And yeah, I think it's simpler is better for sure. For sure.
I'll beat a dead horse here, but yeah, the more moving parts, the more components in the system, it's just asking for issues. Like you just don't need to add all the extra stuff. Just keep it simple. I mean, there's a whole band about that in the 80s and 70s.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Oh, right on. Let's see. All right. Here's a little bit more on our favorite subject.
To set up a gree-gree or similar device, start by clipping it to your belay loop. Take it off the locking carabiner, and there's generally a design. In this case on the gree-gree, it's a little drawing of a climber and a little drawing of a hand. You want the end of the rope going to your climber, coming out the climber end, and of course the brake hand coming out the hand end. Open it just like the doors on your DeLorean. Put the rope in there, close it again, and clip it in the upright position so the trade name reads right side up. Don't forget to lock that carabiner. And then to test it, just put the brake strand in brake position and pull on the climber strand. It should lock. So we've got our gree-gree properly set up here. I just teach the same old P-bus method that we used with the tube style device when I'm using an assisted braking device like a gree-gree. So pull, brake, under, slide. Just the same. Pull, brake, under, slide. Never let go with that brake hand. pull, break, under, slide. Generally, when top roping, you're just pulling rope through the device. You're not feeding out slack. However, if your partner comes to a traversing section and you're giving them a super tight belay, they might need a little bit of rope. Or if they're just complaining that you're giving them too tight a belay and they ask for slack, you need to feed out rope. With these assisted braking devices, that can be tricky. If you're gentle about it, you can feed out rope without the cam engaging. But if you need to feed out rope fast, you do it the same way you would when giving a lead belay. You need to maintain control with 3 fingers of the brake strand, put your thumb on top of the cam, and hook under here with your forefinger. Now I can feed out a bunch of rope in a hurry. Usually you're only going to do this when giving a lead belay, but who knows? Good to know how to do it. And then back to pull, break, under, slide.
Tension.
Tension is on.
Ready to lower.
Okay, so that's what this handle's for. You want to put the rope over this plate that it slides nicely over, maintain control of the brakes. Lowering, and don't crank on the handle too hard, just ease onto it. As the climber moves into steeper terrain, you'll feel more of their weight and you might need to pull on the handle less. Giving a smooth lower with a gree-gree takes practice.
Off belay.
Okay, so now with my thumb, I'll depress the cam and grab with my finger there, just like giving a lead belay with a gree-gree, and feed out some rope so she can get comfortable. Nice
Okay.
job.
All right. Any thoughts on that? I thought that was actually a little bit better video, but
Yeah.
that's just
And-
me.
Just a little humorous comment. I'm glad it's a DeLorean rather than a Tesla electric. handle.
Very well put. Very well put. And apropos. And absolutely. That's a whole nother video, I think, right there, Michael.
That might take us down a rabbit hole there.
That's right. That's right. For sure. All right. Very good. Yeah, let's see what else we got in here. All right. Talk about a little bit of rappelling.
More accidents happen on rappel than during any other part of climbing. So take your time, make sure your systems are redundant, and practice the steps before you head to the cliff. When you're just learning to rappel, it's worth asking an experienced friend at the base to hold the ropes and give you a fireman's belay. When you clean to the anchor, you threaded the rope through the rappel anchor, tied stopper knots in the ends of the rope to close the system, and made sure both ends were touching the ground. Now it's time to set up your rappel. This video is going to cover setting up a rappel extension, threading the rope through the rappel device, backing up the rappel with a friction hitch, and rappelling down the wall. You can rappel straight off your belay loop, but using a rappel extension keeps your rappel device away from loose clothes, makes it easier to back up, and keeps it centered so it's easier to control the brake strands. To make the extension, you can use the personal tether that you've attached to the tie-in points on your harness. Clip your rappel device to your tether with a locking carabiner. To keep the system redundant, make sure to clip into 2 points on your tether. Now grab the 2 strands of rope, pinch them into a bite, and push them through both the tubes on your rappel device. Clip your locker into both of the ropes and the cable, and lock the carabiner. To make your rappel smoother, try to keep the rope running parallel from the anchor into your device and down the wall. It's best to get into the habit of backing up your rappel with a friction hitch. That way, if something bad happens while you're rappelling and you lose control of the rope, the hitch should bind and keep you from a nasty fall. Tie your hitch around the 2 brake strands and clip it to your belay loop with a locker. An auto block is a great choice. You can test the hitch by pulling slack out and sliding it up until your weight is on the rope, not your personal tether. Then gently loosen your grip on the rope to make sure the hitch grips and holds. It's almost time to rappel. But before you do, double check your system and make sure your belay device is clipped through 2 points on your tether. Check that the rope is properly threaded through the device and that there are knots on the ends of the rope and the rope is on the ground. Be sure your friction hitch grips the rope, and of course, make sure all your carabiners are locked. When you're ready to go, shout on rappel, then pull out slack until your weight is on the rope. Now remember, from this point until you're safely on the ground, you always want to keep your hand on the brake strands, just like when you're belaying. The last thing to do before you start your descent is to unclip your personal tether from the anchor and clip it into your belay loop to make your extension redundant. As you lower down the rock, you'll need to tend the friction hitch with one hand and feed rope through the device with the other. Keep your knees bent, your feet shoulder-width apart, and walk your way down the wall. Take your time and be careful. There's no rush. When you reach the ground, you can remove the hitch, pull the ropes out of your device, and let your partner know that you're off rappel. To learn more, check out these videos or click here to find an REI class near you.
All right.
In my opinion, the safety hitch, she did that well. She did not stress how that should be short and close and accessible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it's too long,
You can't
can
reach
be
it.
up
You're
there,
like, hey,
you
where
can't
does it
reach it
go?
to fix it. Yeah.
Yeah,
And-
exactly.
And secondly, this is probably, I don't know, but I've seen it. 1/4-inch bolts and old, poorly placed bolts are getting less and less because they pull out. Okay. And at the top of a rappel, she leaned out a lot. You should be going straight down, even if it's uncomfortable, until that angle of that rope is not forcing that bolt out of its
Yeah,
hole.
you're changing that direction of pull on that bolt, and that's not what you're looking to do.
Yeah. I said last time or time before, I actually pulled out one of Royal's on the Celathe by hand. You know,
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
and it looked fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah. That's a really good point as far as angle of pull. Yeah. And I've never, the adjusting loops, I've actually never used that. I don't know. It's just something that, you could put together some sort of slings to do the same sort of thing. I think it might be just another one of those things, like Michael was saying earlier. It's sort of a specialty thing that I don't know. I don't know if I just have never used it, so I don't really have a real strong opinion on it.
I learned on that technique right there. I learned on we call it a daisy chain. It might not be called daisy chain anymore, but a daisy chain rappel. You'd have your backup on like 1 run or 2 runs above your daisy chain. That was where your backup was, so it's all combined. And that's how it was. But going off what Michael was saying about it going too high, you always had to check if you can't touch your brake, your Prusik hitch, your climb heist above you. You're not going to be able to get it down. You're going to be stuck where you are.
Yeah, very good point. And so, let me get your opinion. So that necessarily wasn't a Prusik.
No, that was a climb heist.
Bachman? Or
Yeah.
Probably got the
Yeah,
name.
I've never used that. I've never used that particular setup. I've if I was going to do it, I don't know if it's easier to use than a Prusik or I don't know.
Faster to tie.
True. Yeah. Yeah. Interesting.
More gription. But
Yeah.
the Prusik, you can just keep adding extra loops.
Exactly.
True.
Pounds.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Exactly.
it looked a lot like a Bachman solo knot.
Oh yeah, could have been. It's hard to tell. She might have said it. I didn't hear it though.
That's interesting stuff. Yeah.
Speaking of those kind of Prusiks and things like that, a good quality soft supple Dacron cording works a lot better.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Just sized and weighted appropriately, of course. But
Sure.
The only downfall of that is it has a much lower melting point. So if you're putting a lot of friction on it and then just keep rubbing it up and down, you're going to burn through those things pretty quick.
Good point.
Yeah. That's all really good stuff. Appreciate everybody. Gosh, try it again. All right. Okay, so we're going to talk about a little bit about some ratings here. I thought this was pretty
Difficulty
decent.
grading. Both rope climbing and bouldering have their own grading systems. They are also translated into different systems depending on where you are in the world. For this guide, we'll go over the Yosemite decimal system for roped climbing and the V scale for bouldering, which are both primarily used in the United States and Canada. We'll also go over the French scale for top rope and the Font scale, which is also French, for boulders to cover most other parts of the world. Some countries and areas use their own grading scales, so if neither of these systems apply to you, just look up the system for your area. The Yosemite decimal system. The Yosemite decimal system starts at 1 for walking on a flat trail, 2 for hiking a steep or kind of tough trail, 3 for a steep hillside that requires your hands a bit, 4 for an even steeper climb that usually requires a rope to avoid long falls, and 5, which is for technical roped climbing with a belayer or auto belay. This is what you're going to find in a rock climbing gym. Now that you understand where we get the 5, the decimal number after it rates the difficulty. 5.0 is pretty much climbing a ladder and continues up in grade and difficulty by number to 5.10. Where when we're at 5.10, the letters A, B, C, and D start to come into play. So a 510A is more difficult than just a 510. A 510B is harder than a 510A, and so forth. After 510D comes 511, then 511A. The hardest graded climb to date of this video is a 515D. Bouldering V-scale. The bouldering V-scale is much easier. It goes from V0 to V17 and simply goes up in number. V0 to V1 to V2 to V3 and so on. You may also see a plus or a minus next to the grades to depict if it's more on the easier side or the harder side of that grade. So you might see a V3 minus to depict that it's a V3, but it's a soft V3. Or you might see a V3 plus saying it's a V3, but pretty hard for a V3. The French and Font scale. The French scale for rope climbing and Font scale for bouldering are both made up the same way. They start at 1 and continue to increase in number. After 3, the letters A, B, and C are added to differentiate difficulties. They also can add a plus or a minus at the end as well. For example, a 4B minus is harder than a 4A plus. A 5C is harder than a 5B plus. Currently, the hardest climb graded is a 9C. All current difficulty grade systems are open-ended and can continue to go up as people achieve harder and harder climbs and boulder problems. Here is a rough graph I got from Wikipedia giving a general comparison of grades. They don't translate perfectly, but this is deemed a close estimate. The most important thing to know about grades is to not let them dictate you or your climbing. Grades are decided based on different elements of a climb. Someone could have trouble with the style of one of the V1s, but could find the style of one of the V2s or even V3s to be in their skill range. Use grades as a general guide, but always challenge the higher numbers. You never know until you try.
I thought that was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty good.
What's the soft V17 like?
Yeah, right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a V17 minus. Yeah, there you go. Good point, Mike. Travis, thank you for joining. We'll catch you later. And I'll send you a video of this. Appreciate all the input. Yeah, no, I thought it was pretty good. That's a funny thought, Michael. So I've got really just the rest of the classes. I've got some examples of some different climb little rated ones. One, the first one I think is just a little clip of Toll House, as a 5.5, I guess, Toll House Traverse. Then I moved up to Lynn Hill, free climbing El Cap, which, it's really hard to compare Toll House with El Cap, the route, and then, finish it up with one of the harder ones that I think has been filmed. But anyway, I just wanted to kind of share a little bit on that. Nice.
I gotta go. Can you pause it?
Yes, absolutely, Michael.
I got a 30-second story. Patty, my wife, just left, but
Yeah.
back in the days of the Big Wall Society, the local Fresno club at the time,
Yeah.
she did it in an evening gown and high heels, Traverse, and
Yeah.
her partner was in cross-country skis.
Yeah.
Not
I-
cross-country ski boots, skis.
Yeah.
And sorry for the pause and interrupt, but it was too good piece of history. Bye, folks.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Michael. Enjoy. Have a great one.
Michael.
Hey, we need to talk to Michael about getting out in the river too.
Yeah, that'll
Yeah.
have to be. I tore out my shoulder. I've got no tendons, ligaments, bicep. It's all gone.
Okay.
So I've got
be
surgery coming up, but they don't even know if they can fix it. So,
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Well, we'll be chatting for sure.
but I would love to. Bye bye.
Okay. All right. Take care. Thanks, Michael. Yeah, that we actually used to have photos of that, and the history of that climb. The guy that was in cross country skis is actually there's a picture of him in the Toll House guidebook. Now, Sydney was talking to me. I actually thought it was Michael that did it in cross country skis, but I knew Patty was the one that was in the evening gown and high heels. So, which kind of makes sense if you know Patty. Yeah, there was a, and actually it's funny, it's only a 5.5 Toll House Traverse is, but the approach is like 5.10. So it's nasty. Sydney and I did this last week, but that's a whole nother epic story. But yeah, we'll get back into this. Just kind of, these are little short ones, but it kind of gives you a comparison between different types of gradients of climbs. And up until that point right there, he doesn't even have a protection piece in. So if he did fall, he would just bottom at that point.
Steve. Here, climbing up. This is the famous Toll House Traverse. On this rope. Pretty soon we'll be all up here.
It's not real hard. There's a picture actually of me and David doing it when he was 12. It's actually on our pictures on the staircase. I don't know if you've ever noticed that, Sam. But
No,
yeah,
no.
there's one. It's probably about 2/3 of the way up, anyway. But yeah, when he was 12, Carson and we had a day up there, and we simul climbed it. Carson was belaying both of us. He was about maybe 7 or 8 feet in front of me, so I can kind of watch him and just kind of. But yeah, he did the whole thing. He did really well. But now, so that's a 5.5. I got a spot here with Lynn Hill actually doing free climbing the nose route on El Cap, which is it's a 5.9 if the aid pitches are aided, but if you free climb it, it's a 5.14. So kind of see a difference between not only that, but it's, you're talking about a 3,000 foot wall versus a 400 foot wall. And so big difference there too. Yeah, very impressive. First person to ever climb the nose route free, without an aid pitch. And, and one of the biggest was this picture right here of her in the roof, because she's really tiny. She's really small, and she can get up in that crack and actually hold herself. And so there's an advantage for smaller people. I mean, otherwise I could do it, so that, but yeah, very impressive. Pretty amazing climber. I got one more little video and then we're out. If anybody wants to hang out for this one, but it's just kind of a 515B.
Wow.
And it's just basically kind of one pitch of a sort of a, I guess, sport route.
¡Me puta!
Ah, vale. Porque tengo que usar el pie en naranja. Vale, vale, vale. Solo para acá. ¿Ves? Así lo ves. Aquí se te... No. Vale, vale, entiendo. Más para la izquierda. Sí, yo subo ahí. Yo creo que así lo ves.
Adán, no bajes. No bajes. Recupera, cambia las cintas. Sí. Vale.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm exhausted. I need to chop up, right? My hands are sweaty, everything. Yeah, it's very impressive, you know, how far climbing has come and capabilities and stuff, and working on these problems. Some of these guys, there's another problem that I was watching not too long ago. It's just a big crack in a roof. There's a big crack in, they showed guys up on top, and they can look right through this roof and down, way down below, and they actually climbed it from under and up around the corner. And it took them forever to figure it out. And so it's kind of impressive how they kind of get to that point and stuff. But yeah,
beautiful.
Any thoughts? Anything else? Kind of went a little bit over on time, but you know, it's.
Well, speaking for myself, much of this is new to me, at least in the detail that you like to bring it to us, David. So it's great. I absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. All of these are really wonderful. I learn a lot from your classes.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And like I was saying earlier, I learn a lot. I mean, plus I love the camaraderie. It's a chance to, you know, see you outside of the shop, and Travis and Afton and everybody. Michael, I'm so glad that he's been able to join us this year, and adds a lot. And I just hope that more people can. So everybody that jumps on here and spends an hour with us, you're all contributing. It's all part of it. I truly appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So kayaking and rafting starting this week, and you know, throw it out there to anybody. I talk to people all the time to, you know, just join us and you know, share. And like I said, Michael's got a lot as far as he's gotten into canoeing. So and Tony is a canoeer. You know, and so and trying to think. And I know Travis, you and Afton has done a lot. So So, even though we did this last year, I'm sure there's going to be stories and stuff that I haven't heard yet. So I'm going to pull it out of you guys. But all right, you guys. Well, have a great week. We'll catch you next week. And yeah, enjoy the beautiful weather out here if you live locally. So
Thanks
you guys
again.
take care. Yeah, take care. All right, you got
Bye,
it.
Austin.
Have fun.
Bye, Dave.
Bye.
Bye.